Page 14, Rondo. In this lesson, they're introducing you to a thing called grace notes. Grace note is part of a group of stuff that we call ornamentation. It ornaments the stuff, it makes it fancier. And this is a huge gray area in music. People don't agree on ornamentation, how it should be played, and they've never agreed, and I'm sure they never will. Grace notes, they don't agree on grace notes. Even the symbol for it, you see it up above, it's like an eighth note with a slash through the stem. Well, those can be called other things too besides grace notes, and they can be interpreted differently. When I was in college, my last piano professor is the one that had the most influence on me as far as interpretation goes and all that. And so I do the ornaments the way I was instructed by him. And that's how I teach them, because we teach according to how we were taught. Ornamentation, grace notes and that kind of thing, I do that when I do the articulation. So when I'm first figuring out the notes and all, I leave them out. Most ornamentation is optional anyway. Like grace notes, you don't have to put them in. They're extra little things that stuck in there to embellish or flourish the stuff going on, whatever it is. So the process I use, let's go through that and see what we get. I look it over, I see it's about a page long. Now it's got repeat signs, it's longer than that, but there's about a page of music to deal with, and that's what I'm after. Clef signs are treble and bass. There are two flats in the key signature now, so this is in the key of B flat major. So if you're doing scales, go do the B flat major scale, one octave up and down. Do it according to the trill exercise, the accents, and the fingering that I show in the video. And 2/4 time signature, but we're coming in on a pickup note here because there's only 1/8 note. That means there's 1.5 counts somewhere else. And if you look at the end, actually look at the end of the second line, you'll see that has 1.5 counts, because if you look at the beginning of the third line, that's got 1 count in it again. Well, that means we need another measure with 1.5 counts in it, and we do at the end. This piece is in sections. Remember, I talked about sections, I think, where you have a book in chapters, you can have music in sections. So the first section is the first 2 lines, and the second section is the last 3 lines. I'm going to take it one hand at a time because it's a little bit tricky. Right hand, you're up here, here. If you look at the first few notes, you're there. So we're here. Now we're going to move around. So it's and, 1, and 2, 4. So we just crawled down the keyboard. And I connect everything I can for now, except for the rest. Let's go to the second line, measure 7, or the pickup to measure 7. Measure 7, they want you to use thumb twice. You can get away with it because of the articulation, but I like to connect everything. So what I'm going to do on measure 7 is I'm going to cross over 5, 4. I can connect it all. And that's what I would recommend you try here. Not thumb, but a thumb 2. Cross over. And they want third finger on the G. Again, I leave out the little grace note. I'll put it in later. And then the last 2 measures of the second line, 1 E and up. Because it's 16th notes. 1 and up, 1 and, 1 and. And I recommend a thumb on that note at the end of the second line. Whether you repeat or not, I want a thumb on that because that puts me in position for the F coming up. Because whether I repeat or not, it's still an F. So I want a thumb there. Let's go on the third line. 2. You don't really have to do a 2-3 for 13. You can do a 2-2 if you want, but it's good practice. What you were doing at the beginning. Left hand, well, it's starting out with 3 here. And then 3. It's a little awkward, but sometimes playing piano is awkward. What can I say? And then come down 2. This way we're in position, then the thumb cross over. Yeah. Third line down, let's measure 14. Remember the E flat, it's in the key signature. Measure 18. Same. Then during the rest, come up. Like here at the beginning. Then we try putting the hands together and see what kind of a mess we have. And if you hesitate, that's fine, don't worry about it. We'll deal with that later. It's right here. I want here. And here. Rest. Both hands rest. The left hand's got to come up. Rest. You do that again, and then measure 7 and pick up to it. You're coming down here, and the left hand, right hand. Here. Rest. You don't need the natural sign in measure 10. You don't need a natural. It's a natural anyway. It doesn't hurt, I guess. You don't need the natural sign and at the end of the second line. Now, when I play the F in measure 14, it's by itself. And then the right hand comes out. So put the hands together, and this is tricky. You take it just a line at a time, or however, break it up into pieces, and focus on each piece and get that down and get rid of the hesitations. Then I think about the articulation and these grace notes. They have 2-note slurs. I'm going down, up, and I'm going to separate the first 2 notes. But here, I'm going to separate each of these notes, 8th notes, slightly. It was more in the style back in this time, where if they didn't tell you anything, most of the time they didn't. In the music, the default, or what you did automatically, was to separate slightly. Today, we connect them automatically. But for this music, if they're not slurred, I'm going to separate them. Yeah, so you can connect that if you want, or not. Now the grace note, second line, here. It's a quick little note, not rhythmic, it's just quick. Some of them are rhythmic, but that's a whole nother ball game. I'll get into that later. Right now, just a quick note. And I was taught to play these on the beat. So the little note will come with the B flat. Some teachers will teach that you do grace notes before the beat. They will always do it. So. There's a way to notate that if that's what the composer wanted. But I was taught in college that in most cases, you play these on the beat. So that's how I do it. It's just a quick note though. And at the end, last line, measure 27, same thing, quick note. With E flat. That's how I do my grace notes. Just know that if you Google these ornamentation, these things, you're going to find different things. So however you do it the way your teacher tells you to do it. Now on some of this, like in the third line, I tend to want to connect this. It's like a statement reply, and This one is up, down, but then the reply, it's all connected. It's a contrast. I tend to interpret, you don't have to interpret it that way. You can connect each one or disconnect. I prefer the contrast of some of it's a little choppier than others. Some of it's connected. It's interpretation. Your teacher will tell you how they think it should be done. You do it the way they're doing it. Then I do the dynamics. Here it's going to be the right hand. Forte is loud. And come down a little bit. Now soft. You're echoing it. Now loud. Soft. It's echoing it. The left hand's got to stay out of the way. And then finally the speed. Allegro. Keep in mind on speeds and music, you're not necessarily talking about the speed of the beat. You're talking about the overall feel of the piece. So it depends on what's in the piece. This has eighth notes all over. So really we're talking more like the eighth notes. Huh? Because if I do a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2, and that's too fast. We don't want to go that fast. So let the eighth notes determine how fast you go, and it needs to be accurate. So if you're limited to how fast you can go because you're trying to be accurate, that's okay. Because you can always come back later on and play these pieces again for fun, and you'll play them faster then. But here, I think about giving you a metronome marking for a quarter note, but again, that's only a suggestion. You have to decide how you're going to do it. At the end of the second line, there's a repeat sign, so you're going to go back and repeat the first two lines. And then when you go to the third line, you just go through it. There's no repeat sign at the end. Let's play this together very slowly and check the notes and the rhythms. I'm not going to do the louds and softs, just notes and rhythms. We will do the repeat. I'll give us 1.5 counts to come in because we come in on the end of 2. So go ready and go. That's how we're going to do it. Very slowly. Now because there's eighth notes everywhere, I put the metronome on eighth notes. Even one hand at a time if you need to. Ready and go. Rest. Rest. And rest. Rest. And 2. Repeat. Rest. To rest. And 2. Rest. And 2. And go on. And 2.